I'm ready. Welcome to the Metapod, a Pokemon TCG podcast that revolves around the evolving meta. I am here with Sean today. We got a lot of things to talk about. Kind of a little bit different of a podcast as well, if I do say so myself. The meta didn't really evolve at all. Metapod decided to use Harden instead of hitting level 10 in evolving into Butterfree today, because we looked at the results and it's just like we both have decided that there's not really anything that's like changed. Like, yeah, Pikaram's still good. Dragapult still good. People are still playing Combo Zacian and doing well. People are still playing ADP. There's always that one Goons player, right? There was only one like notable thing or anything that was really different, and that was like a Rillaboom hitting top 8 in PokéX. But other than that, like everything just looked the same. So Sean and I have decided to just, you know what? Let's just talk about some other things today. We've got Players Cup, because that was interesting from the perspective of someone that did play it in Sean. And then someone that didn't play it in me. There's some interesting stuff I think that there is to talk about. Also, there was some new stuff announced and put out, so I think it'd be cool to talk about that. Some breaking news from just a couple hours ago of this recording, so I think we're going to probably be one of the first podcasts to talk about it. So that'll be cool. And then also collecting.
Yeah, we're going to look at the other side of the equation. We're all a bunch of players here. A bunch of the people that are using our cards and reducing
and
their
ruining them.
Yeah. But let's talk about, I think it's interesting to talk about the other half of the Pokemon world. I say half, the other 90% of the Pokemon world, let's be frank.
Yeah, it's like the other 95% of the Pokemon world.
So this is how we're going to grow our podcast, is by getting all those collectors in.
You like
two people
collecting,
who don't know anything about it.
Join the Metapod podcast, where we talk about the evolution of collecting and how binders are changing and I'm just kidding.
My wallet has evolved into a not wallet.
My wallet has
empty.
My wallet used de-evolution spray and took out all my money.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, yeah. Do you want to just jump into the first thing then, Jake? Talk about the Players Cup.
All right. So the Players Cup happened this past weekend. Each respective region had their own kind of bracket, and you had to make it into the top 64. So I believe that was 3 wins that you had to do. It's double elimination, I believe, right?
Yeah, I mean, the main thing was 3 wins. If you won all 3 in a row, the first 3, you're in. If you won your first 2, then you only needed to get 3 wins out of 4, like win 3 and 1. If you lost one of your first 2, you did have to play out to a 4-1 record. That's
interesting.
That's just how the double elimination winners and losers brackets goes. So the earlier you lose in the tournament, the more rounds you have to play.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That happened over the weekend. Sean actually played in it because Sean went for it and qualified. Shout outs to him. But I will let him talk about his experience before I get into what I saw as a spectator.
I mean, I did play in it. Oh boy. If you follow me on Twitter, you got to see a little bit of my salt. I went 1 and 2 overall. The first one, I played Dragapult, just so everybody knows. I played Dragapult, and I played a version that was very similar to Stefan's list, actually, with the super scoop ups. I thought it was a good call. I just felt like the vast majority of people I might run into are not going to be playing Mr. Mime with scoop up block. So like, hey, I'm running Dragapult. If I hit, a few heads over the course of this tournament, that might be enough to like win, games that I wouldn't have otherwise won. So that's what I'm playing. And it's got a 1/1 Malamar line as well. First game, I'm sitting down. I play against Blacephalon. That's my first round. And I'm just like, oh, you got to be kidding. Blacephalon? Really? Okay. So game 1 starts, and it's just like auto loss, essentially, because I drew nothing. I had 3 bosses order in hand in my top 7 cards, and no draw supporters, no Pokemon search. Dedenne was prized, and I had no way to find it anyways. So it was just like, and then so I just played a couple of Pokemon down, and then a Blacephalon just knocked them out one turn after another.
One by one.
Yeah, and then I got benched out. So like I was like, if this is really how I'm going to start the tournament, that really stinks. But I actually managed to come back that game. I managed to win game 2. And then game 3, I just feel bad. I did hit a bunch of super scoop ups in a row to pick up my Zigzagoon to ping a benched big Blounce GX so that I could take the knockout on it. And that I'm sure was like, that's how I won, because I benched my opponent out there because I just got lucky on some super scoop up. So, I managed to pull through and get the first win. But after that, I played a mirror of Dragapult. And that game went pretty well. But, the first game, the person who goes first in Dragapult mirrors, I think usually wins. That's just the nature of that matchup. And you can't really bench Inkay in that matchup because
it just dies. Yeah,
it just gets a Zigzagoon ping and it gets knocked out. And so it's like, well, I can't really play that. So we played the first game, it was back and forth. And then, he went first and he won. So cool. Second game, back and forth. I went first and I won. So cool. I think
just have a weighted coin forehead.
Right. And then the third game was very, very close. I think this was the third game. But one of the games that I lost 2 games. And I hit 3 super scoop up tails in a row, which would have won me the game if I hit one of them.
Ooh.
Because I had to pick up a damaged Dragapult VMAX, and I had another one already powered up on the bench with only like 100 damage on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I don't pick it up, then I auto lose. Like there's no way to avoid those 5 damage counters. I just lose. So I missed all 3, and then I lost that game, and then okay, now I'm 1 loss. And then the last game I was playing against Pikarom, and it just like I drew poorly. And to be frank, I don't think, if my opponent is from that was listening, apologies in advance, but I'm just going to say it. I don't think the deck was that great. It wasn't that optimized when I looked at the list.
Shade.
I know it's shade, but I'm looking at the list, and there was like more than 20 or 30% of the person's deck was one-ofs. It was so confusing. It was the least consistent Pikarom deck I've ever seen. They never turn 1 full blitzed. They, I think, only turned 2 full blitzed once. They only turned 3 full blitzed every other game. So very inconsistent deck. But I also had very bad draws those games. So like I can't get started and get some hits in early. And the 2 games I lost were because they had their one of boss's order in a 4-card hand. And like, to end the game, right? And I'm like, you still have more than half your deck left, and you have a 4-card hand. And you have boss as your one of in your hand. You have no way of searching that card, right? So it felt a little bit sacky in some ways. And I just felt a little bad because I literally win the game on the next turn. Everybody says this, I know, but that's why I got salty, because it just felt like it was like the improbable things that lost me these games rather than other things. But anyways, so I lost, I'm out. Other people made it though. I think Dragapult did well. I'm gonna assume we don't have the results. But my guess is the spread of decks that got to day 2 or what if you want to call it day 2 or top 64 is probably similar to what most people would have played. I think the only deck that I've heard that's kind of different and interesting is Ross Gilbert, I believe, played a Spiritomb Excadrill, which was interesting. And he made top 64 with that. So, yeah. But anyways, that's my experience. Now, Jake, I don't want to talk about me anymore. Let's talk about what you think from an outsider's perspective.
Well, I mean, I made tea before the podcast, but I didn't realize it was going to be this strong of tea after hearing you talk. But I just kept looking at results, right? Because this was on Saturday. I just kept looking at results that were happening and, people posting updates and stuff. I saw someone make it to the top 64 from Oceania without actually playing a game because they had their first 3 rounds were literally all no shows. And I heard other people from other regions saying like round 2, my opponent is a no show.
It does feel bad of like, if you're a player who grinded it out and like didn't make it through to the top 64, and then you see somebody who doesn't play any, but now it's all randomized, right? Like nobody chooses that. But boy, howdy, that stings a little bit.
I want to know though because like from the screenshots that I saw and stuff, it was like the player name was actually like no show. So that was decided at the very first round after check-in ended, right? They started replacing people as no-shows for those who didn't show up. I would assume that is probably what happened, right?
Honestly, I don't know the mechanics. I think if you listen to this podcast somehow, if you have the time for that, you can let us know. But it may be that those are all the people who had placeholder spots that did not register in time correctly via Battlefy and or Discord. So
it almost sounds like they just stuck with. Well, I guess you have to do it for the integrity of like the top 64. Yeah, but it's like, man, just like pair people up with normal people. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, look, they may have paired people with no shows as best they could, right? Like meaning like they may have paired no shows with no shows. I don't know if that's something that you can work into the Battlefy system or not. But the good news, I think, is I don't think any no-shows made it to top 64. So that means that next weekend, it'll be Gucci again, right? You won't have this same
until
problem.
People forget to sign up, or maybe something comes up last second.
Well, I mean, somebody might have to drop because something comes up, but everybody's already registered, right? So that you don't have to do anything at this point. So if people don't show up, it's the same as not showing up to a day 2 at a regionals. But I don't think it'll happen en masse.
Well, probably not as big, but it's still going to happen. I already know it.
Yeah.
It was just weird to me that somebody could make it to the top 64, but not have to face a single opponent.
Oh, yeah.
And that just is like, wow. I mean, and not to discredit the player, right? Because the player worked hard to get there. The player probably tested a lot and actually like tried to put themselves in a position of like, I don't even actually remember who the player actually is.
Maybe Jordan Palmer, if I'm getting the name right. But
think maybe.
Yeah, it's not anything on them. All you can do as the player is laugh, right? Because you're like, I mean, I can't do anything about this, so I'll take it.
Yeah, you just can't do anything about it. We'll see. We'll see as the next weekends come and the Players Cup continues. Do you have the schedule, Sean?
I mean, I can't say the schedule for every region, but it's basically every Saturday for the next. Like, so this weekend, this last one was top 256. Next weekend is top 64. The weekend after that, I think we'll be getting it into either top 16, maybe. And then the final weekend will be determining the top 4. So I think it's either 3 or 4 weekends total. I can't remember exactly which, but it's every Saturday. I think they'll keep having it, as far as I know, at the same time, which is going to be in the US. It's 3:30 Eastern time in the afternoon. Every other region has their own time, so I can't say for sure what theirs are. But the one thing I will say I liked about the format, you know how with other tournaments, everyone has to wait until the start of the next round to play their match? Like everybody waits together for the round to start.
Yeah. On
Battlefy, the nice thing about it was if you finish your match and the person that you were going to be paired up with is also done with their match, because the brackets, like it's like winners and losers bracket, but you know, once it sort of seeds, you can get prepared basically. If that person is ready as well, you can just go and start the next match just right away. You don't have to wait.
Oh, that's actually like really good.
Yeah. And that's what I did, right? Like I was able to get through 3 rounds of best of 3 and I played all 3 games in each best of 3. I was able to get through all of that in like, I want to say an hour and a half, which is super fast, right?
Yeah, no, that's pretty good.
So I was very appreciative of that because I'm like, if I'm going to lose, at least I'm not going to waste a lot of time doing it.
What was the timer?
I mean, I can't even remember. I think it's just the normal PTCGO
God, Sean,
timer.
that's like the one thing I wanted to know.
It's the normal PTCGO timer. So like, whatever the normal amount of time is that you get when you play against like a versus or whatever, that's the same time.
Interesting.
I didn't hear of anybody having timer issues. Which
I didn't really hear of anybody playing Control.
No, I didn't really hear a lot of Control. I wonder if the Control players just got slapped by ADPZ or something. But I don't think a lot of people brought Control. But I mean, we'll see. We'll see when the results actually come out, because I mean, if you are playing Control, you maybe don't want to just tell everybody too early what you're playing.
Yeah, you didn't want to mention that you listen to the podcast. Right. You didn't want to be an outcast,
right?
But anyways, I think that's probably good for the Players Cup conversation.
Yeah, when we get results in, we'll talk about that. But for now, there's nothing to really talk about beyond that.
Yeah, there's not too much going on. So, Pokemon has just released TCPI. Which one is it? TCPI. Some information has come out. Most notably, something that was breaking news earlier today. I believe PokeJungle is where I saw it first. I don't know who the actual first person to break it was, but PokeJungle is where I saw it first. Pokemon TCG Raid Battle gameplay style announced. There's a YouTube video that accompanies it, but basically, if you've played the video games, you know of a new mechanic of battling in Pokemon Sword and Shield that is called Max Raid Battles, where essentially there is a Gmax or a Dynamax or Gigantamax Pokemon, which is basically the equivalent of the Vs and VMAXs that we know in the TCG. Basically, there's a big one of there, and you take 4 players and you just go after it and attack it with all of your Pokemon. This is very interesting because it's a sense of you bring 8 different Pokemon. Each player brings in 2 different Pokemon, and then they kind of take turns attacking this Pokemon. From what I understood, you actually don't need to have any sort of, you can ignore the energy costs in total. Which is very interesting in my opinion. The picture, like there's a base set Charizard in the picture, of course, one of the most like expensive cards, like you can put in stuff from base set, you can put in stuff from Rebel Clash, you can put in stuff, everything in between, even the base set, Mr. Mime that has the ability where if a Pokemon does 30 or more damage, it cannot hurt your Mr. Mime, effectively saying that none of the only ones that we've seen are Pikachu VMAX and Dreadnought VMAX, and both of them do over 30 damage for their attacks. So Mr. Mime, base set, and maybe a really long game because you're only doing like 10 damage per turn per Pokemon. But you know what? It's worth it because you win almost every single time. I would love an infinite loop gameplay where you just... Oh my God. You know what? You know we should play? What? Quad Zamazenta. Yes. No VMAXs can actually hurt your Pokemon. Oh my goodness. But anyways. We've broken the format right there. in all seriousness, this is just a fun new way to play the TCG. Like it can, especially for new players, new families and stuff, and young kids, like learning the TCG can be very intimidating and very hard if you have not played a TCG before. And you don't like regularly, like me, watch like Twitch, YouTube, of all these people playing and stuff. So like, this is very family oriented. This is where you can take any Pokemon card that you have, any actual Pokemon, and put it down and be able to use it and have some sort of fun with the Pokemon TCG, if that makes sense. Unlike their regular Pokemon TCG, where it is not fun. This is not about fun, kids. Yeah, it's people are saying like, why would they make this online thing instead of revamping the online client? There's only a digital battle assistant. So like you go on there and it can kind of teach you how to actually play. It's almost like your instruction manual, and then you can print out the materials from their website. Like I believe the like knockout tokens, because if a Gigantamax Pokemon knocks out 4 Pokemon, the Dynamax / Gigantamax Pokemon win. And then obviously if you knock it out, you win. You probably print out the cards and stuff, but it's not something that really matters at all for us competitive players. Like literally does not matter at all.
You know what I think could be fun? Like this could be, if depending on how many of these max boss raid, like the bosses that they print and how they print them too. It could be fun if you like, you know how people do cubes, right? Where you like prepare like what cards are even available to you. I could imagine like, you know, if you're a store owner of a local card shop or something and you want to do like an all ages thing to get people involved. Yeah, it's great for kids, but depending on the Pokemon that you put into that cube and you say, hey, we're going to do a quick draft and you're going to look through all these Pokemon and you get a pack of like 10, right? You pick one Pokemon and then I don't know. You could figure out a way though to make it interesting by really limiting the Pokemon you have access to compete against those bosses.
Interesting.
So like, I do think there's a little creativity I think you could put in there. And if you did it that way, you also make sure that you don't have like Zamazenta, right? Like putting Zamazenta in there is just silly.
It's broken.
Yeah. You wouldn't put Pokemon. There's also like Pokemon like Kartana, right? Or what's the
Xatu.
Xatu, right? That leaves your opponent's Pokemon at 10 HP. If you pair that with like Slowbro V, right? Where like, oh, technically, is it the active? Because it's the only Pokemon. It's like the Pokemon that the one person is playing. Well, yeah. So now they're poisoned. I don't even know if special conditions are a thing in this game, but now they're poisoned. And then you leave them at 10 HP. And then when they go into their first turn as a VMAX boss, they die, right? Things like that are just kind of like, they're just broken. So it's like, of course you shouldn't play it that way. Cause like all you're doing is beating yourself.
It's just really, I think that this honestly, like in all seriousness, cause like this is, like I mentioned before, this is geared towards families. This is geared towards people that are stuck at home, you know, with the coronavirus going on and stuff and the pandemic still being a big thing. I think that this is like too late. I think this is a couple months too late. I think that this should come in. I think that this should have released before the Trainer's Toolkit, before the League Battle decks. Yeah, that's my personal belief.
No,
because like
especially since like they're all just printed home stuff. It's like, what took you so long? Because I heard they were testing this in Collinsville, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, what gameplay mechanics were you trying to shore up with this? It's very simple. Maybe it was just creating the literal asset package that goes along with this that just took time to do. But I agree. If they'd have gotten this out in March, then like, hey, that's actually pretty cool.
Because like you look at the different products that Pokemon has released in the last several months. You know, the Trainer's Toolkit does a really good job at introducing the game. You know, gives you a lot of competitive cards, gives you a lot of viability. You know, and then you look at the battle deck, that in itself is a already like pre-made deck. So the order of operations, I think that this should have been released is the raid battles, because I mean, like we've known about raid battles since Sword and Shield released in November 2019, right? So like releasing it sometime after that, in between that and the Trainer's Toolkit. Release the Trainer's Toolkit, give people more cards, more competitive cards, right? More things like sleeves, you know, give them sleeves, give them the damage counters, the poison, fire, whatever. And then give them the actual, like, somewhat playable deck, already pre-made deck, because the max raid battle is to get you to, like, learn about attacks and stuff. Like, instead of just looking at a Pokemon card and being like, this is my favorite Pokemon, or this art is very, very cool, actually thinking about like the attacks and maybe also the effects of the attacks. That is because this disregards the energy costs. So that's a way to introduce like turn-based combat. That's a way to introduce reading the cards, reading the text, trying to understand like what the attack actually does. Right. And then you release the Trainer's Toolkit that gives you the sleeves, that gives you the damage counters, that gives you the poison stuff, gives you a lot of great things to become competitive or to start learning competitive. And then the final thing, released the League Battle deck, which is an actual physical deck. So now you have this foundation. Now you have this base of learning that you and your family may have been doing over the last several months with the raid battle, with the toolkit, things like that. Now you actually have like a deck to be able to put all of your knowledge into and know how to play. I think that this is fine. This is cool. Like, this is fun for families, but like in a sense of like growing your player base, like this is what month is it? 7. This is like 5 months too late. 4 or 5 months too late, in my opinion.
The only thing that I can think is, a lot of times these companies might have briefs that they put in to different teams or to like groups where it's like, okay, we need to introduce the game to new people, right? Like I could easily see that being a brief. We need to introduce the game to new players, especially kids, right? Okay, well, what are the 2 products that have come out that do a great job at that? The Battle Academy box, so that there's a box that came out that has basically a whole mat that tells you like what all the different parts of the card are. They give you like decks to play with. Mm-hmm. And it basically teaches you how to play the game with very simple decks that don't have a lot of extra mechanics. And then you have this max raid battle thing. I could easily see that this was another idea that said, oh, this also ties into max raid battles in the game. So kids might be familiar with the game. So like, let's translate a portion of the game in an interesting way to the card game to teach kids some of these mechanics too. And it may simply be that like the Battle Academy won out in terms of the product that they were going to print and actually like sell at Target or whatever.
Oh no, because I don't think this sells at Target. This is something that you print from the website. I feel like,
that's
right?
what I'm saying. The Battle Academy.
Yeah.
The Battle Academy won out, and that's the thing that's actually being sold because it's a more viable game, like long term, like as a thing. It's just also it's more viable teaching mechanic. And this was sort of like the other project that maybe they were just like, we don't want to like throw this away. Like there is some validity in this, and let's just give it to people for free, right? Mm-hmm. So like, I would be super interested. Honestly, like I agree with you that like it's a little bit late. There's other products out there that do this. I appreciate the fact that it's free, so that's something. I mean, no,
yeah, it's very good that it's free.
I mean, it's free insofar as you still have to have your own cards to play it. It doesn't solve that problem, mm-hmm. but it does. It's somewhat free. I also think what could be fun about this is there's a lot of people that make custom cards nowadays. I could, like I said with cubes, right? I could easily see people saying, okay, well, let's make our own custom bosses. Like, imagine if you actually play this game a little bit, understood it. You cubed a whole group of Pokemon, and then you commission, one of these custom card makers to make you 10 or 15 different bosses that have all these attacks. And I think that could be pretty fun, to be honest. So there is an element for me, for kids and adults. I think there is a little bit there of the most lightweight way to play this game. The problem is it has once you have played a boss with a certain set of cards, it's very difficult to get a lot of replayability. Do you know what I mean? Like once you beat the boss, how hard is this? You've done a lot of max raid battles, right?
Yeah.
And are those I
usually just pick a level 100 Pokemon and just do it.
Yeah,
There's no thought that really goes into it. Unless they do one of those the Zero Aura raid battle or the Mewtwo one promotion that they did where it was actually difficult. Even the 5-star gold hidden ability ones are not actually that difficult.
Yeah, so I think this suffers from a playability aspect, and it's not like you get rewards from doing this in any way. Mm-hmm. So I do think that, yeah. But I will say, I actually I like in my brain thinking about what are the ways that you could actually make this fun for people? But it may be a fool's errand.
I still think it's too late.
Yeah.
I'm sitting on that rock.
That's fine.
What's that phrase?
This is the hill you're willing to die on.
Yeah, I'm dying on this hill.
I don't think anyone's going to come after you on that hill. I think you're safe up there. No one's going to vehemently disagree with you on this one.
Nah, if you want to, feel free to at me on Twitter. I'll gladly have a mature, actual conversation with you about it. But something that is not debatable is the 180 cards that came in the Battle Academy box just very recently. The Battle Academy box is something that's come out, and it is again geared towards, like, I think you mentioned it, Sean. It's very geared towards teaching the game. There's like a board that kind of tells you everything you need to know about the different spots on the play board thing, whatever. Comes with a bunch of cards, things like that. Do you want to talk a little bit about it? Because I know you said you had some friends that bought it.
Yeah, I mean, I had friends that bought it. They played it with some of their family who are younger. And that seems to be, fun. They seem to enjoy it. I don't personally have any young people who I would need this for. So for me, it's like a product that I literally don't have a reason to buy it. So I'm not going to buy it. And all the cards that come in it are like, there's a couple of good cards here and there, like staples, like Welder. I think you were mentioning.
There's one Welder.
Yeah, there's one.
A lot of the staples are like a lot of the good cards. It's just like one of them.
But like, I will say, it does have that family Charizard that was hot for a minute in the Mewtwo Welder decks.
Oh yeah, the Charizard from Hidden Fates.
I feel bad. Honestly, I feel bad for the people who don't get Charizard when they play this game, because boy howdy. Like, Charizard could do 300 damage in this with his GX for 4 energy. How is that fair? You
got to hit your Welder, though. That's the thing.
I guess you got to hit your welder. Your one Welder in the deck.
You got to hit your one Welder. No pal pads, no recovery in any sense. It's just solo attachments and 30 HP heal potions. The cards are also, this is very interesting. I can't tell if this is because Pokebeach. I don't think it is, just because the lighting on one of the cards bouncing off. There's like a special stamp on the card that signifies that it's a part of the deck. Because like on the Charizard one, there's a little Charizard in the bottom right corner before like the little description that says like you can only play one supporter per turn, or you can play this card or item cards as many times as you like, as long as you can fill the clause, and there's like a Pikachu one with the little Pikachu guys, and like a Mewtwo with the Mewtwo decks. So like, I'm wondering, it's even on the GXs too. So I'm wondering if these would even be like, if you could even take these into competition.
I don't know if the actual printing of these is considered standard legal cards. I mean, all that said, it's not like anybody would be bringing these into a competition.
No, I mean, a lot of the, like, you get a play set of Cynthia's in this, but like Cynthia's about to rotate. I mean, I think like the most competitively viable thing that you get in here is probably the play set of Great Balls.
Yeah,
probably it.
I mean, look, it would be hilarious if somebody did bring them to a future tournament, and the tournament organizers like, these aren't legal cards.
Yeah, I want
to see that.
I mean, it almost reminds me of the World Championship decks that they reprint.
Oh yeah,
where they have the different back, and so they're not actually tournament legal. Like that's what this little stamp thing reminds me of. I actually don't know that. I didn't notice that before we started the podcast. I didn't notice it. You do get an online code though. So that is interesting. You do get an online code. So I'm wondering, maybe these cards are viable then. If
that would seem like, I don't know if it's just maybe that would be so weird if they went through all the trouble to print a slightly different version just for this box.
Yeah, I'm like confused about this.
Weird collectors who like are really into like every version of a thing.
Which we could actually get into talking about here in a second. Segue. I will say though, the coin in this Battle Academy box, pretty cool coin to be honest. It's got Mewtwo, got Charizard, got Pikachu.
That's cool.
Gen 1er Dream. All the Gen 1ers out there. this is your coin. It's actually like a really cool coin. Like I wouldn't consider myself a Gen 1er, but this coin's pretty dope, in my opinion.
All right.
Anyways,
Nice.
So Sean, lead us off into the new segment of a demographic that we're trying to snag and steal. I'm just kidding. But just lead us off into the collecting aspect, I guess.
All right, you guys, are you hype? Are you hype for this live break? No, I'm joking.
You want to learn how to lose all your money?
That's right.
Look no
Invest it
further.
all into Pokemon cards right now. This is not a bubble. This is not a bubble. This is the new reality. Base set booster boxes, $12,000 right now. It's a steal.
Holy cow. Yeah, it's so expensive.
Yeah, it's crazy. We looked it up on eBay. Now, I don't know if they've actually sold for that price, but yeah, let's get into the new this little section of the pod. We are actually going to be talking about the collector's part of the Pokemon TCG world in a few different areas. And then finally, like what that means for players, especially in things like retro formats, right? Mm-hmm. So I think the first thing we can talk about, Jake, I know that you've started to get a little bit more into collecting, but what do you think about the crazy increase in price of so many of the sets, all the way from base set, even up to like black and white stuff? I know Heart Gold, Soul Silver, boxes, even some like modern era stuff is going crazy.
No, yeah, I agree. And I just want to kind of preface this by saying like, there's no one way to collect, right? There's people like me who collect sealed booster boxes to eventually resell in the future. There's people that just want to collect their favorite Pokemon. There's people that want to collect every single type of PSA for a certain card. I know there's people that are looking out for like the PSA 1 Charizard or whatever, the PSA 1 Psyduck card. So there's no wrong way to collect and there's no right way to collect. There's just a lot of ways to do it. But an overall trend that we've seen here in the last, like, I would say year, is that people are starting to invest heavily into the old stuff, the vintage things. And it's kind of seen a skyrocket of those prices. You know, I remember like a year ago, I think like there were base set boxes that were going for like $4,500.
Dude, 3,000. I was looking at something on eBay thinking to myself, okay, 3,000, give me a few months and maybe I can get a base set booster box.
Yeah. And what did you say earlier? The listing was for the base set
12,000
booster box, $12,000. So in like a span of a year, something has fluctuated, exponentially. Like, what is that? 300%, I think. I think that's 300%
increase, right?
It's 4 times the amount.
And I think it's specifically the last like 4 or 5 months in particular.
Mm-hmm. And you look at kind of like how we got here. Like, why are people starting to invest now? So you look at when Pokemon released. Pokemon came in the States in like 96, right?
98. Well, the game, I want to say like most
probably
of the
look at the
like
video
98.
Game. Anyways, late 90s. Pokemon introduced in the late 90s. You look at people like myself, late 90s. I was like 2 years old in 1998.
Oh gosh.
Sean, you were 11. A little bit older than that. You were 11, but still like very young.
I was young, but right? I was the kid who bought all the Pokemon cards in 98.
No, yeah. But anyways, so let me get to my point again. Okay. So like you have all these people now. Now look at us. Sean, you are an established person. You have a great job. You have money, right? So now, once you start hearing that people are investing, like you have the financial ability to start buying like some of these older stuff with the price that increases. Now, in general, like prices kind of increased as it got older because like scarcity, demand, stuff like that. Supply is very, very low. Demand is kind of at the same or a little bit higher. So the price naturally goes up. But now that, I'm not an established person yet, but a lot of people go a different route than I did, and have like good jobs, good, well-paying jobs. I want to take it the slow game and I stick in school for graduate school. But anyways, people have money now. They're spending money. The demand is now on the rise. It is heavy on the rise. People are getting invested into it. People are realizing that people are buying this stuff up. So they want to have it, right? Because what is cooler than having, a base set box or opening up all those cards from that time, like breaking open those packs. And so that's really seen an increase, not to mention, we're in the age of media, right? So you look at different people, Leonhardt, Real Breaking Nate, PokeRev, literally like 3 or 4 times a week opens up a vintage booster box. Well, he breaks it and then sells like the packs and stuff, which is a whole different ball game. But yeah, so it's like those are 3 like very major, as I would say, major people looking to get into it. And then there's also people, Gary V, I saw a post on his Instagram just the other week. He's talked about Pokemon before, but he just posted a picture the other day of a PSA 10, I believe it was, PSA 10 Gem Mint Mewtwo, first edition from base set. So you have someone like him. I'm assuming that anybody who's on social media has seen Gary V in one point or another, 8.2 million followers, investor. He invested in Facebook, Snapchat, Venmo, and Twitter. Wow. He seems like a guy who knows what he's talking about, probably, right? In terms of investing. So now you're seeing him invest in all these cards and stuff. And this is also going to skyrocket these cards. And just like all these people, I've seen more and more people as the week's gone on. I posted a YouTube video about like booster box pricings and how they've kind of trended in the last 6 months, like a week ago. And there's more people during that time as well that were not Pokemon people that were talking about like, oh, maybe you should invest in Pokemon cards. Like this could actually be like a good investment, investing in vintage stuff. So it's like so many people are now looking at it. It's like, you know what? I had all these Pokemon cards when I was a kid. When I was 11 years old, going out and buying base set packs, opening them up. I pulled that Charizard one time, and then some kid traded me a Charizard for 30 EVs, Like, I wish I had that Charizard back. So the chase is on. People are buying the cards. The vintage market is going up. Nostalgia is huge. That's why Pokemon constantly reprints Charizard. You know why? Because people love Charizard. It's nostalgia. Like, the vintage market's blowing up right now.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I mean, look, my 2 cents, though, is I think you certainly hit the nail on the head as to a big reason why, in the last year or two, the market seems to be taking off is, yeah, you're right. A lot of people who are my age, roughly, you've finally gotten out of I literally paid off my student loan, my last student loan this year. Woo! Yeah, right. I'm only 33, but, and you've got a long road ahead of you, Jake, probably. But
I'm getting grad school for free.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's how you do it. That's an investment.
Because I hate school. So kids stay in school, but I hate school so much. I'm so bad at school. The only reason I'm doing it is to get a job.
No, that's a good investment though. But
I sold my soul for the degree.
But people who are around my age now are finally paying off their student loans. I'm personally looking to buy a house for the first time. And then so all of a sudden you have this whole market of people who are have some disposable income. Now, the only thing though that I would say is, I might be very wrong on this. It's hard to gauge. The fact that it's gone up so much so quickly, it's starting to smell of bubble just a little bit. And I'm not saying that it's going to crash and not be worth anything. I'm saying that all markets have ebbs and flows, right? Peaks and valleys.
Oh, okay.
The trend over time is always, not always, but usually up, especially for things like Pokemon, which the company's doing great. They're going to be around for a long time as far as we can tell. So in terms of buying the vintage product, if you buy it for $10,000 today, right? I don't know. I think it would actually be I'm going to go out on a limb and say, I don't know if it'll be $10,000 in a year or two. But it will be at least $10,000 at some point in the future again, right? If it goes down to $5 again, it'll go back up there. You just have to hold it a little longer.
I think that also it comes like even when you talk about like PSA grading, I mentioned that Gary Vee had a PSA 10 Mewtwo. I posted a picture about it. So like, especially for when you talk about PSAs, like the more PSA 10 base set Charizards that are out there, the less right away. So like if there's an influx in PSA Charizards now that PSA is going again, now that they're back kind of a little bit through the pandemic and now they're starting to PSA cards again. If there's an influx of Charizard, that's naturally going to decrease the value of Charizard, right? Because that's not it doesn't become as
you have more inventory.
Exclusive. Yes, you have more inventory. The supply is higher. Even though I don't think demand really changes, low, to be honest.
I think it's fair to say that, if more and more of these cards get PSA graded, right? Because people are like, oh, that Charizard that I had that was maybe an 8 that I had before wasn't worth it to grade 2 years ago because a PSA 8 Charizard was only worth like, I don't know, $300 or $400. I'm just picking out numbers. But now that PSA 8 is worth $2,000, well, shoot, I'm going to go grade that. And then all of a sudden, you may have a crap load of PSA 7s and 8s and whatever Charizards, which there's always going to be people who want to buy them. But I think that I really do think that to some degree we're in a bubble. I think you were talking about how things like Ultra Prism, a booster box of that is like $200 and some odd dollars.
Yeah, it's like $268 market value on TCG Player as of like a week ago.
And I saw the Hidden Fates ETB on Verbank. Now, look, I'm going to be honest. I don't necessarily collect this. So,
it's $177 market value.
Somebody was selling them for $250.
Well, they're just trying to make a quick buck and I'm just trying to pick on people that don't know.
I guess, but like even $177 is like, I'm like, there is literally no reason in the world to ever open that box because you're not going to make money. You get 8 pack, maybe 10. Is it 10 packs in the? Yeah, I think it's 10.
Yeah, you get 10.
But like, you can go get a tin that has 4 or 5 packs or something like that in it for $30 at GameStop right now. I'm like, and they're doing a reprint of this stuff. So I'm like, you're clearly not buying it for the actual packs on the inside anymore. You're buying it for the packaging, right? This packaging is rare. But that's why I'm kind of like, I don't think that those products really should be $200, pushing $200 for an ETB. Maybe in 2 or 3 years, right? I could see that. Because like, look, Hidden Fates is a really nice set. Don't get me wrong. But we are less than a year out from its printing. It should not be that much for an ETB. So those are the little signals to me when especially when certain modern things start popping to that degree that you're just kind of like, there's a lot of speculation going on right now. But that's just my 2 cents on the market. I think it's not a bad place to spend money, but I would say if you are really debating whether or not you should spend whatever the amount of money is you're going to spend, it's probably not a good investment. If the amount of money you're spending is something you have to think hard about, whatever your budget might be, I don't know if those products in particular are the right thing.
So like if you have a sealed Hidden Fates ETB, it's about $177. If you open it, don't even open up any of the packs. You just open the packaging. You have automatically already lost $80. Yeah, in value,
because you can sell those packs for max $10.
Yeah, it's about $10 value for each of the packs unopened. But here's the thing with it, like and a lot of people are starting to get into it, including myself. I was doing it. I was putting a portion of my paychecks towards buying like sealed booster boxes and stuff. Before like the pandemic hit and I found out that I wasn't going to make any money over the summer. So I haven't bought anything in a while, but the main thing that I recommend is like, look at the different prices for the boxes, look at the recent stuff. So like, for instance, Sword and Shield and Rebel Clash, very easy to get, right? Those are very near prints. They're pretty easy to get. Those are both under $100 market value on TCG Player. Pretty easy to get. Forbidden Light, $87 right now. Crimson Invasion, $83 right now. Get the cheaper stuff, right? Get the cheaper stuff and then just sit on it. just sit on it. I have an XY Evolutions box that I've already started to see profit on it because that set is just very popular. I have a Rebel. I can't remember if it's Rebel Clash or Sword and Shield, but it's back there. That eventually, once it goes out of print, and then once it becomes a little bit older, it will start seeing a price increase again. Because you look at a lot of the sets. So like Ancient Origins in the last 6 months has upped 50%. It's now $146 for a box. Primal Clash up 30%, $113. Those sets aren't that old to be honest. And even Guardians Rising and Sun and Moon have each seen over a 10% increase, right? So like the stuff eventually goes up. Burning Shadows, oh my goodness. I like literally the day before the pandemic hit, or the day before I was noticed that I was going to lose basically all my summer income and I was going to have to figure it out by Twitch and freelancing. I was going to buy a Burning Shadows booster box because Burning Shadows has 3 secret rare energies and a Charizard in it. Charizard set's very, very valuable to invest in my opinion. Very safe, in my opinion. That was like $91 per box before the pandemic hit, and then like I was told like, hey, you're not gonna get made money. So I was like, okay, I need to save money. No buying sealed product anymore because I've lost like 50% of my income that I put towards boxes and stuff. As of right now, it's $182 per box.
Man,
$182. So just think like, I mean, obviously there are some things like if you had bought an Unbroken Bonds box and you had saved that, you already would have skyrocketed because Unbroken Bonds box is $230 each right now. It's got a Charizard in it. It's got Green's Acceleration. It's got Welder in it. Green's Acceleration. Green's Exploration is what I meant. But it has all these great cards in it that are huge for collectors that people really, really like. Because think about it. A majority of people that buy Pokemon cards, vast majority, are collectors. People don't care about what the attack is. People don't care about what the HP is. People don't care about how it fits in the meta. All right? People just want it because it's a Charizard.
So to that point, this Darkness Ablaze set, it's got Charizard in it.
No, yeah, I would 100% try to buy. Well, the thing is, like,
it's not a
the
rainbow
thing is
Charizard.
Like people go goo goo gaga for the rainbow Charizard. So like the Charizard that's only getting 600 prints in Japan, the rainbow VMAX Charizard, that's gonna be literally, I can't even like fathom how much money that's probably gonna be.
I mean,
right? Because I don't.
They have to bring that rainbow in some way to America. I don't know what
it would be silly not to do it. I just don't know how they're going to do it. If they're going to do it in a set, if they're going to do it in the holiday set, if they're going to do it in a collection box for Darkness Ablaze.
Collection box would be dumb.
It would be.
You gotta make that
I don't think it would really be that dumb. But like, it would be dumb not to put it in America, right? Because Americans freaking love flexing. They love spending money. It would be dumb not to let this card release throughout the rest of the world. It's just not going to be. I don't think it's going to come right away in Darkness Ablaze. That's my personal opinion. But anyways, that would be because it has a Charizard in it, regardless if it's the rainbow or not. I think that set ultimately has a lot of value, and I think that you should invest in that, in my personal opinion.
I mean,
but
invest modestly, but yes.
Yes, I think that if you were looking to get into it, I think there's probably a way that you can get it very, very cheap after it's released, and all the hype goes down, and people like reselling boxes and things like that.
You can get any new box when it comes out for $90. So that's what I would say. Like, look, I think you're right, Jake. If you are somebody who's maybe a little envious of the collections that other people have, in a good way, not in a bad way, but just, you're like, oh man, I wish I could do that. I think it's the same thing as a 401k, right? It's all about patience, time. So yeah, exactly. It's literally just like, don't open it, forehead. Yeah. If you have a box that you're like, I don't need to open this, there's nothing in there that I need, just put it. If you have the space, just put it somewhere safe. forget about it, right?
Yeah.
And look, worst case scenario, it goes from $90 to $95 in 10 years. Okay.
But you know what? You made $5.
Yeah.
You made $5.
And the
It's
thing
like
is,
stocks.
and you're not like, I think it's important to remember you are not investing in the same, like you should never expect to get a return on your investment that is astronomical, change your life.
Yes.
Nobody who bought base set booster boxes when they came out and didn't open them, nobody was sitting there thinking, oh, this is going to be $10, $20, $50,000. That's insane. If anybody tells you they thought that, they're lying to you. But
they're lying to you.
But they did have the patience to say, I think it'll be worth something. I don't know how much, but it'll be worth a little bit. And I'll sit on it because, we'll see. So that's what I would say is like, this game is not going to go away. Get the boxes when they come out and go from there. That's a great way to just build your collection, is just start now with one box at a time.
The vintage market's really blowing up. And I don't know, because we've been going on this podcast now for about an hour. We were originally planning on talking about like retro format.
I think we can hold that till next week.
Yeah, we're currently in the works right now of scheduling someone to talk about retro formats, because as Sean and I have discussed here on the podcast, we've only been playing for like a little over a year each. Like less than 2 years, I'll say. We've been playing competitively for less than 2 years each. So we don't know a lot of these retro formats, right? And like we never played during when these formats were like the actual present standard format. So like we don't have a ton of experience, but it's something that is so popular right now and so many people are getting into that I think it would be, Sean and I both think that it'd be really cool to talk about and like learn about and hear somebody else that played during those formats kind of talk about, right?
Yeah. So that is going to be, I think, next week, unless something goes crazy in the Pokemon world. That's just a preview of next week. We're going to talk about some
PTCG client revamp. Oh my God.
That would be nuts. That would be.
Man, I don't know what I'd give my left nut for that.
All right. Well, hopefully that doesn't happen then. And I think we can actually just wrap it up. I think we can wrap it up here, Jake. Anything else you want to say?
What was my rant today? Did I have a rant
was
today?
Kind of about the raid battle. I think you didn't like it. That's kind of a rant. That's what Neopie responded on Twitter.
I didn't really shout out to you, Neopie, for replying to our tweet. I liked it in the middle of the podcast, just to let you know. But it's like, I just think it's too late. And it's like, sure.
Yeah. I think we've gone over that, but I think we can sign off now.
Yeah.
Give these
whatever.
People their time.
Wear a mask.
Wear a mask. I even did it in my last video. So wear a mask.
I think I saw New York. It was like New York. It was the first time the other day that they didn't record a death in a single day for coronavirus. I think I saw that news tweet.
I stopped paying attention to New York news about 3 months ago. Just after a while, you're like, I can't anymore.
Well, it was like a Twitter news thing that popped up.
Hey, that's
it was
great.
like one of those news notifications. But yeah, shout outs to everybody wearing a mask right now. Please. If your place has like IRL events, please wear a mask. I would even advise wearing gloves too.
Don't shuffle
disposable gloves. Yeah, just tap the deck. Trust people. Don't if you can, because usually you can tell sometimes that someone's stacking, but like if you really think someone's stacking, just cut the deck. Don't actually shuffle it.
I would just say don't even cut. Don't even bother. If people are going to try to cheat right now,
I don't even cut. Like even when I play with Kyle,
get out of here. Get out of here.
Even when I play with my buddy Kyle, I just I go over to his house and we test. I just say I'll tap and I'll like knock on the table.
Yeah, I don't cut my people's decks when they come to my house either. I'm like, ain't nobody over here trying to cheat nobody. There's no point in that.
Yeah, I don't. Just be honest. Yeah. That's my rant. Be honest.
Stop trying to coronavirus. Cheat. Be honest.
Stop trying to hack into Pokemon TCG. Although if you did hack into it, then probably that gives them a better reason to give us a different client. So you know what? Maybe you do want to cheat. I don't know. Don't.
I'm wrapping us up, Jake. I'm wrapping us up. Like, subscribe, and all that good jazz on whatever platform that you're on. Review us as well. We like good reviews. Reviews
go a long way.
The Snorlaxian for their lovely review. I'll just shout you out.
Yeah, I know Snorlax him.
Yeah.
Buddy of mine.
And yeah, we'll catch you in another episode.